Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the IVMF webinar series for today's event. It is Leveraging Technology to Advance Your Business. Today's host will be Mr. Scott Nadzan, Vice President, Marketing and Sales of Ensemble Video. Mirza is not with us today, so Scott will be running the show, and myself, Jim Powers, will be kind of behind the scenes taking questions and relaying them to Scott. Scott's looking to talk today about technology for advancing your business and some technology do's and don'ts. So welcome, Scott, and thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it. So hello, everybody. My name is Scott from Ensemble Video, and what I want to do is talk about different ways to leverage technology to grow your business. Technology can be threaded into many different aspects of a business, so my goal is to talk today in the next 30 minutes to an hour about a lot of different internet technologies and tools that you can utilize. So just a little background on me. I am a Vice President of Marketing and Sales for a software company. Our software was invented about 6 years ago at Syracuse University. We've now been selling that across the globe for 6 years. And basically what we do is we're a private YouTube, so we have customers all over the globe, and we use a lot of these tools that I will talk about to advance it and grow our business. So this is our website. You will see today we have a blog, so I'll talk a little bit about our blog, and a lot of businesses do want to create a blog, so I'll talk about how we do that. We use a product called WordPress. So this is our blog where we have video embedded in it, we have articles, we have guest blogs from customers, we have publications that we've been posted in. So we will talk a little bit about our blog today and how to create a blog. Some other things we'll do is maybe talk about how to get forms on a website. So we have order forms on our website for our trials, and we can have our customers make payments. So here you'll see a form. We use a product called FormStack. So we'll talk a little bit about that today, how we can accept payments. Additionally, we'll talk about some of the core features about building a website. You'll see that we do have a URL here called ensemblevideo.com. We'll talk about how to set up that URL using GoDaddy or another similar service, how you can host your website somewhere online. And then we'll get into some more details about, what are some of the tips and tricks and techniques for, creating a solid navigational structure for your website. What are some do's and don'ts for your website, and really just kind of run the gamut of what a modern progressive online business should look like today. So I'll try to use as many real life examples as possible. I will try to use a lot of smaller business examples because a lot of us aren't venture funded beasts in terms of our companies, and just try to make it really down to earth and something that you can use and move on and use this in tomorrow possibly, or today. So one thing I will do is go a little bit through a PowerPoint to kind of frame the discussion, and then I will go into some examples online. And if you do have questions, please feel free to chat them in. I will try to keep my eye on the chat window here, and we'll go from there. So I will be using a PowerPoint that I've used in the past. Some of you may have seen this. It's called Leveraging Technology to Advance and Grow Your Business. I do want to thank you for your service. That's really important to me, my family, and this is my way to give back. Entrepreneurs do give back. I was helped by a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people in the IVMF program. One of my disclaimers, and you'll start to see it right away, is I do have a lot of energy and I have a lot of passion for these topics. So just a little disclaimer for you. And my goal today really is to plant some seeds and expose you to a variety of technologies. So I want to make sure that I show you some things that you might not have been exposed to. I want to make sure that you kind of know where to go to access that technology or tool, and hopefully there'll be enough resources online for you to go. I won't be able to show you every single detail of how to get a website set up today, but I will try to push you out in that direction. And then truly I do want to help you grow your business. So the first thing I like to talk about with anyone that I'm kind of working with and consulting with. Yes.
Yeah, you're not sharing your screen. I just want to let you know.
Oops. That helps.
Thanks.
Let's try that again. There we go. How's that?
That's better.
Okay. So I'm going to rewind. I will not say the same things, but I did have some really nice thank you slides here that we missed, and there's a lot of energy on the side of the computer screen, so I do have a lot of energy. And my goals today, again, are to help you grow your business. So one of the first things I like to talk about with any small business and make sure that you think about is, what are you trying to do online? Obviously, as a business, we kind of all have a dream in our head that we want to conquer the world, but we really do need to start to focus on certain objectives, segments, or our products, and start to break big ideas into smaller chunks. So one of the first things I like to do is say, all right, well, we're going to determine this online strategy. We're going to figure out, what are the tools we need? Do we need a website? Do we need a blog? Do we need an e-commerce site? There's all these questions we can start asking ourselves, but I think if we start to kind of look at these three areas, it helps us, focus a little bit on what our strategy should be, at least in the near future. And obviously, you can change your strategy over time and develop a long-term strategy, but I think the first thing we want to do on the left is think about our online marketing objective. So one thing I like to talk about is, what are you trying to do online? If you're a brand new company, one of the obvious things that you might be trying to do is, generate some buzz or awareness about your product or your service. You might not have that product on the shelves yet. You might not fully figure out the pricing for your service, but you do want to start to figure out, all right, so how am I going to generate awareness? One of the most obvious ways to generate awareness would be, build a website, get a website up. It doesn't have to be a 30-page website, but get something up online that you can point people to. Other objectives might be, get a Facebook group up, or get a LinkedIn group up, or get a Twitter handle up, so that you can at least generate awareness and start getting your name and your brand out there. So, again, if you're a startup, it might be awareness. If you are a current business and you already have a product on the shelves, and maybe you were selling in a retail store, a brick and mortar store, maybe your online marketing objective is start to build an online presence and start to increase the revenues for your online sales to be competitive with your in-store sales. That could be a marketing objective. Another marketing objective for a current business could say, I want to, I've been selling really to a lot of, housewives, let's say, or 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 a certain demographic, maybe females from 24 to 36. Well, maybe you want to expand, and market to more types of people. So you might have to change your product, and you might have to change the way you're communicating about your product online. So there's a lot of ideas there. Just kind of just wanted to get those in your head. And then we're going to start moving on into who is your target market. This is the other thing that I talk to a lot of small businesses about. One of the things you want to do is really start to focus on your target market. For example, Ensemble Video is a software product, as I mentioned, and we focus on certain target markets. If we went over after every single customer or every single industry or vertical in the space, we would fail miserably. What we do is we go after higher education. So one thing I'm going to show you is, and it's pretty clear right now, that if you look at our customer list, you're going to see on the left there is a long list of schools, colleges, or universities using Ensemble Video, and we focus our marketing, we focus our product development on higher education. We know who our target market is. So you're going to see here I have higher education, and we have dozens and dozens of schools using our system in higher ed. All right, and then you're going to see K-12 education, another one. We have hundreds of K-12 schools and organizations using our system. And this isn't about bragging. This is really the moral of the story. We have very little enterprise customers. And I think if you went and looked at the industry verticals, the ones that have the most money to spend are enterprise. But the reality is, in our situation, and this is just the reality, that we don't have our software platform is not designed for the enterprise. It is designed for higher ed and K-12. If we spent all of our advertising and all of our resources on trying to sell to enterprise, we would get some wins in there, but we would probably fail because our software is not tuned for that market. And there are other platforms, competitive platforms, that really focus on the enterprise but don't focus on higher ed. So we really have taken a lot of time to focus our marketing objectives on a certain segment, and that would be higher ed and K-12, and then with certain people in that market. So everything you see online, for example, we just put up a new landing page. We're going to a big K-12 conference. We just came up with a new landing page for K-12. We just kind of refreshed it, and you're going to see that this is all K-12 information. There's a K-12 case study with a teacher, a instructor named Jasper Fox. We have pictures of him in his classroom with his students using our software. So you'll see, his students using our platform. Videos that he's creating and talking about our software and highlighting our software. So this is very focused marketing, and it really helps. Also, these videos, again, very focused on speaking to our market, and then we created an infographic about survey results that we've gotten from him in his class. So you'll see that, again, very focused efforts. And again, not bragging, it's just the reality of that we are not a venture-funded beast of a company. We have to really focus on certain markets, or we would fail miserably because we'd be wasting our resources, time, and effort. So that's a very good example of focus. Another area we have in our website is Ensemble Video is for you. We specifically made videos for the types of users that buy our platform. One is called an instructional technology professional, another a library media specialist, media producer, stuff like that. So you can see that we've really focused our communication to our target market rather than just saying our platform, our app, our tool, our service will work for everybody in the world. Maybe that's the case, but I doubt it. All right, and then we have to think about products or services being promoted. So some of you might be, business coaches. Some of you might be personal trainers. Some of you might have a product. Some of you might have products that you sell. Some of you might have an app. Some of you might sell advertising on a blog. Whatever your product or service is, there's different ways to promote it. There's different ways to, get that out there, and there's different ways to build a business online if you have a certain product or service. So we can talk about creating a standard website, that's brochureware for a service, or we can talk about creating an e-commerce store because you're actually selling products. All right, and we'll talk about that today. So I wanted to pause. I went over a couple slides and some information. James, has there been any questions that I've missed?
No questions right now, Scott. Thank you.
Okay. So the first thing I like to talk about, and I think one of the most obvious ways to start building awareness, and I believe every business would need some sort of awareness, is by building some sort of website and designing a nice, usable website that provides consistent information, clean information, and simple information. So one thing I like to talk about, and this is a really fun part of this class, is start to look at maybe some failures in website creation and design, because I think we can learn a lot from what we see and what we don't want to do. And I've seen a lot of these things happen over in the past. I've actually done a lot of these kind of things that you shouldn't do. But really a lot of my talk is talking about branding. So, making sure that your brand comes through, meaning, what do you want the user to think about and feel when they see your website? You really want to have some sort of consistent branding and consistent messaging. You want to make sure on the messaging side that people know exactly what you do right away. So a lot of times, I'll look at a website that I'll pick up in Google or something like that in a search, and I won't even understand what it does. So we want to really make sure that we understand what the site is about. Are you trying to sell a product, or are you trying to tell the story of your company? So we'll talk a little bit about that. Number three is simplicity. So one other thing that I really like to talk about is, building very simple interfaces that are easy to use and easy to navigate. I know we've all gone on a web page that is not easy to use and has been very difficult to navigate. So I want to make sure you understand how to easily build a site that's easy to navigate so that you're not confusing users. And that kind of starts to go into usability. I always ask a question, what is usability? And the real answer here is, how usable is your site? Meaning, how easy is it to click on a button and get to the next place that you need to go to find and consume more information? Is it easy to find the navigation? Can you not see the navigation? Can you not read the words? Is there not enough contrast on the page? How usable is that site? If you have an app on a mobile phone, how usable is it on a mobile phone? So there's a few things that I want to talk about, and actually I'm going to use some examples online here. Hopefully you're going to be able to see this. I just want to check my settings here. Okay, I'm okay. So one thing I want to do is bring up a site, and hopefully you can see this. This is my example of just because you can doesn't mean you should. So one thing that happens when people start building websites is they understand they can do all kinds of cool things. They can use every color in the rainbow. They can have all kinds of rotating graphics, and if you look in the bottom left-hand part of the screen, you might catch the cat running backwards. you can see that we have some text here that says accept Jesus forever forgiven. You can do all kinds of neat stuff online, but just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. So this is an extreme example of a web page I would say that sucks, but they missed the mark here. I've seen a lot of websites with really dark backgrounds, green backgrounds, pink backgrounds. Keep in mind that when you open up a book, what color is the page of the book? White, or something light, like a light gray or a tan. So a lot of times people get very cute and trendy with their web page design, and you got to still remember, people still do need to read the information and consume the information, so you need to make it very easy to do that. And my guess is if you're sitting here staring at this thing, it's getting frustrating. Like I'm staring at it right now. It's not a nice page to look at. Another thing is, right here, I'm hovering over it. I know it's probably hard to see, but this little error message, which is typically an error message, they actually figured out that they could write, you are possibly not secure in your own personal faith. So they're doing something, they're taking over the browser and saying, I'm going to write something in this little error message prompt, but what a normal user might see is there might be some sort of error, so they'll jump off this page. So again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. This is a good example of that. Now, here's another page. Do you have a question?
Yeah, there was a question that came through, Scott.
Yes.
Rudy Lopez, he's in here watching. He says, I understand this is about this is kind of geared towards products, but what about service-based industries and the promoting for them?
Yeah, so we can definitely talk about service-based industries. I think some of the things I would talk there is more about having a really clean website, which we'll look at some clean websites. Maybe we'll pull up a couple examples of service-based industries. I think in that case you might want to become some sort of one, have a clean website, but number two, Rudy, is start to have a presence outside of your website. So if you're providing services, you might want to kind of get hooked into some of the social media platforms and become some sort of thought leader, or have some sort of, be very active or have a voice in different social media platforms, or even just having your own blog about how your service is improving a business, whether it's a case study, a white paper, customer testimonials. So a couple of these are just really these examples right now are going to be, a couple of them are product, one of them is actually a service, but we'll get into some more of that. I think I'll plant some more seeds there, Rudy, and then if I don't, we can hit back on that in the next couple of minutes. So this lesson really is more here, and I'd love to be able to ask you this question, say, what is the problem with this one? The one thing I would say is ignore this messed up graphic. You can see somebody's head is here. What I would say is, this is done by some sort of advertising agency. They had a logo done, which is fine. This is a big brand, right? They have a graphic done, some stock art that was shot, great. They have a color scheme, great. But there's a huge problem here, and I think that some of you are probably picking up on it, is, if you really look at the navigation, there's a huge problem with the navigation, and this goes into usability. So a lot of people will create these websites and they will think, wow, this looks pretty. Well, it might look pretty, but it doesn't work for a user. So if you notice here, and if I hover over this, I have navigation here on the left, bottom left. So nobody actually searches their web pages and with a tilted head and reads web pages like this. So one of the first mistakes here is where they place the navigation. So this is a good lesson in, whether you're a service-based website, product-based website, you want to make sure your core navigation is where? Probably at the top. Okay, we all read from left to right in the United States, at least most of us do. So you want to make sure that you have your branding in the top left, and their navigation probably should have been horizontal navigation or vertical navigation right here. Also keep in mind, some people, and I do this all the time, I'm guilty of this, is I'll have multiple windows open, things like this, and now I can't even see the navigation. So sometimes what happens is designers that you work with, so say if you go outsource your website development, they will make a graphic that looks beautiful, but it's a design, it might not be a usable design. I think this is a failure of somebody not understanding, like, how usable will this website be. People aren't going to know to click on these buttons down here. All right, so that's a good example of that. Now here's another kind of product-based website. There are a lot of problems with this one. Some of you might know the acronym TMI, too much information, is one big issue with this website. I do see a lot of businesses, whether it's service or trying to sell a product, they will put so much information on their webpage that you just are completely confused at what they actually do. All right, so this is a good example of that. They are throwing up, many different types of fonts, many different graphics, many different buttons that you can click on, and you really don't know what they do. So there's one problem here: is too much information. Number two is, it's not that you can scroll all over the place. There's really just no focus, in my opinion, on this page, and there's a problem in messaging and branding. So if you look at the domain name, SIP Hawaii, I always say this, this is a great domain name, in my opinion. If you're selling coffee, SIP Hawaii, it sounds great. If we all closed our eyes and imagined what SIP Hawaii could mean, I'm thinking right now, if you've ever seen those Corona commercials online, they have that person on a beach on a beach chair, with that Corona, with the condensation on the bottle. Well, I'm sure many of us have gone on vacation, have coffee in the morning, and overlooked the beach or the water. Well, I think that would be a pretty simple solution, is have a nice horizontal banner here, really communicating, their branding and their messaging, rather than just throwing every single bit of information they have about their products on their homepage. So they really missed the boat, I think, on branding and messaging. Think about color theory too. Some of you are going to might not be into design too much, but there is something to be said for color theory. If you think about SIP Hawaii, I think about, that light, blue of the ocean. Actually, if you look at this graphic right here are the colors I'm thinking: green, tan, brown for coffee, and blue skies and blue water. So again, this stuff all starts to add up. And if you do it right, you look big on the internet. You start to size up with your competitors, and people will start to think that you might, you have a viable product, a viable business, and they're willing to spend money with you. So again, that's just a good example of something, that you can, remember. You might want to think about your messaging and branding and how much information you have on a homepage, because you want to be focused. Now, this is more of a service-based website. It's not a good one. Okay, but this is one of them where I think that this group, again, went out of their way to tell you almost everything that they could do for you, which is great. You can see that they have links on spa, pubs, clubs, cafes, internet, hotels in Chester area, camping, shopping, hotels. Again, one huge problem here: too much information. Okay, no focus for what they do. I think obviously by the website URL, yeah, they're going after tourists in the Chester area. But my guess is they could probably reconfigure this navigation and find a nice way to present this information. So one big problem is too much information, and I probably won't get an answer for this question, so I'm going to answer it. But if you think about it, how many different levels of navigation do they have? They have one right here that I'm hovering over. And is that navigation big or small? It's tiny, right? So some of us won't even be able to see that. Number two, they have navigation here, they have navigation here, and if you scroll, you just have all kinds of information. Here's a good example too. I see this a lot on web pages. Maybe you're a service-based website. You want to tell the world what you do and what your specialty is, and all the experience you have in leadership, or if all the experience you have as a cook or a chef or a caterer. But then what you do is you make the text so small that nobody can read all that great information, and then on top of that, you put it on some dark background, so it's actually really hard to read. So these are some common mistakes that I see in a website, and I think just to mention, I'll show you a few websites now that I think are very easy to use. They have a lot of products, but they're easy to use, and they figured out their branding and messaging. I will show you some that are big businesses and some that are small businesses. So, one is, if we look, and I'll just critique our website, there are things that are great about it, and there are things we need to change, but we try to keep it very simple, and I think any good website, and I'll show you a couple more, usually will keep their navigation horizontally at the top or on the left, right? So if I actually go into the video platform area on our web page, you're going to see we have our sub-navigation on the left. So first of all, I brand my website, top left, because that's the first thing I want people to see, so I know that they know where they are. Number two, I know they read from left to right, so I actually prioritize my buttons, and I order my buttons in a certain order. Here's a pitfall that I have seen on a service-based website, going back to that example, Rudy, is I will see a service-based website say, you know what, we're going to have a home button, and then we're going to have an About Us button. And that About Us button tells the story of that business person who started it, maybe how they invented it or their background or their experience. But in my opinion, what should be that second button is maybe services or what we do button, or how to contact us about our services, instead of telling the story of the company. I mean, every company has a great story, especially entrepreneurs have great stories, but a lot of times I would argue personally that that story should either be in the company area or the About Us, and that is not the most important piece of your website. The most important piece of your website is, what are those people going to buy? So this is one key, is prioritizing your buttons. And again, 6 to 8 buttons is probably a good limit I would have for your top level navigation. So there's our 6 to 8, and we organize information underneath it. Our button, the reason we put video platform here is because that's what we sell. We sell software. We call it a video platform, and we have the basics of what it does here. We have our most popular promo video on that. That speaks about what we do. Why is video important? Then we go into the features. Now this page, you might argue, has too much information, and when I scroll, look at all these bullets and stuff like that. This is actually one of the most popular pages on our website, but it's not our home page. That's the key, is it's a very specific page for when people get into understanding what we do, they can now click in on our platforms and see what our solutions are and things like that. So again, very key information there. And James, it looks like we have a question here.
Yeah, Rudy says, so the home and About Us should essentially be the same, almost merged.
No, I would say definitely not. No, I think depending on what your About Us is, though, I guess, Rudy, one thing I've seen is that a lot of times they would put this story right here about the company, like about all of us founders. Andy founded it, I found it, Jeremy was a founder. They would put this like on their homepage or put it like the second button. And I would argue that while it's very important, I mean, trust me, we are so proud of what we've done. We are proud of our backgrounds. What we do is we put that kind of as supplemental information. The home button, I would say, is you need to communicate what you do, why you do it, and the problem that you solve. Say what your service is. Rudy, can you tell me what is your service? Maybe that'll help me give you an example. Give you a better example here. So what's Rudy's service? What does he do?
Yeah, I'll just wait to see if he
Okay.
is in the chat room. Or Rudy, if you have audio, feel free to come live with us.
And I think just to take a look at a service-based website, for example, would be maybe like if we looked at a web design company, right?
He does say 2 services actually. Long-term goal is behavioral health clinic. Current
Okay.
is private investigations currently.
Okay. So let's just search for one. Private investigation. Let's see what happens. I spelled that wrong. I realize that. Sorry, I can't spell. Let's go. Let's see if we can find. Here we go. Let's see what they do. So, one thing that I actually, what they do here is, right away, if you look at this one, first of all, they're helping you. It looks like what they do is they actually are a network of private investigators. So they're going to find you an investigator. So instead of, putting a big navigation in here, it looks like what they do is they really connect you to somebody, to a network, which is fine. It's very basic. I like what they've done here with 3 basic informations. Like I can go in here and kind of see that they have a help center where I can find private investigators. What if I am somebody that wants to become a private investigator and get in the network and spot cheating spouses? So I bet you this is one of the biggest, drivers for private investigation. So what I like about this is it's so easy to consume. I can figure out what these guys do in a matter of seconds. So that's what I kind of talk about with that. But you don't see, who is the inventor of the private investigation now network right away. You probably will maybe see that in the About Us area. So what I'm kind of saying there is just be careful where you put your story. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just saying that I've seen a lot of things happen in the past where people put their story right on their homepage and they forget to talk about, what are they trying to sell, So anyway, hopefully that helps a little bit. We can look at one more really quick here. Let's see here if I can find one. Long Island Private Investigator. There's probably some good stuff on this one too. And if this one doesn't load, I gotta. here's a group that has a very simple website that I know about where they provide consulting for grief and loss. And now I know this isn't behavioral health, but kind of in the health area, and they've kept it very simple. What I like what they've done here is they have their basic homepage where they tell a little bit about what they do. Right here, you can read it on their page. Number two, they have their services, so presentations and training, programs design, consultation, testimonials. They have a portfolio, so you can start to see who they've worked with and what they've done. And then they start to talk about themselves. So here's another good example, I think, of a service-based business that definitely has a ton of credibility. 2 PhDs here. They know their stuff, but really in the end, they're trying to tell you right away what they're doing on their homepage, what their mission is, what their services are, and then they'll get into their personal information. So anyway, hopefully that helps a little bit.
Yeah, and
then
Scott, Rudy
yep.
actually posted a link, a random one, in the chat function as well.
Okay, so let me see if I can go to that. Where is the chat? Oh, right here.
Yeah, right there.
Cool. Okay, so cool. Cat's Eye, private investigations, home, the firm, practice areas, testimonials. So I think this is good. I think you have some messaging and branding here. That's what I like about it. You're keeping with your brand, right? You have the cat's eye. You have that cat right there with the eyes, watching, looking, things like that. I think I like that you have those three very simple. I'm a big fan of like these kind of showing them three things, like three very simple bullet points. It's very memorable, to a user, so I can start to memorize that. If I had 8 bullet points there, very hard to memorize, right? So I think that's good. I think you have your information about the firm. I think this is where you're getting into the credibility. One thing I would tell you on this one is you have this big banner when you go into an inner page. I have to scroll down to get that information. One thing I would maybe suggest is possibly move this up, get rid of that banner right here, because once I click in, that banner isn't as important. It's really the information I'm looking for. So, I was expecting right here that I would see maybe some pictures about the people in the firm, what about the firm, things like that. So it's not, and again, you have a nice web page. I'm not saying it's a bad web page at all. I'm just saying like that's one thing. I like that you have your services here. Personally, I might put these bad boys right up here. Make sure they see your services right away. Although this is nice the way you're doing this. So I think you're off to a great start. You have your practice areas here. Again, I got to scroll down now. Does that take a lot of work for us to scroll down? No. But when people click, they want the information right in front of them. So it might be one suggestion I would have on this one personally is maybe remove those banners on the inner pages, not your home page, on the inner pages. So anyway, it's a nice website though. I like your logo and stuff like that. Pretty cool.
Yeah, he actually says not his website, but great information.
Cool. Okay. So. All right, so now here's the big question I get. I can talk about what to do with websites and how they look, and we can critique them all day. It's how do you build a website, right? So that's one of the big things. So there are a lot of ways to build websites. You can go hire someone. That's definitely one thing. But so I'll talk about that a little bit. One thing I recommend when people are going out to hire somebody, there are a lot of different ways to do it. So one, you can just do a Google search and say, I want to find, right now, today, I am in Syracuse, so I want to find a Syracuse web designer, right? So if I do this, your next step is you're going to go look through their web pages. You're going to start to, I know these guys here, Syracuse Design. You're going to look at their web pages. You're going to look at what kind of sites they've built. And you obviously want to get on the phone with them and talk to them and say, hey, can I just chat this? I'm sorry, I know. Sorry.
No,
all right, had
no
to do
problem. No problem.
I'm entrepreneuring over here. So that was one of my colleagues. So these guys, what they're doing is, they design and develop. And what I recommend when you're going out to firms is to talk to many of them, just like if you were going to get, some work done on your house, or you were going to go look at cars, you're going to look at multiple cars. You're rarely going to just go talk to one person and take the first price, right? So you want to go out there, search in Google. If you want to look up stuff in the Yellow Pages, great. But you can find many different web design firms, talk to them. Ask for references. Number one is one of the first recommendations I would give. So if you want to get a website done by somebody, ask for references. Make sure you go to them with specific requirements that you want. So don't go to them with no great ideas about your website. You want to go to them with a blueprint, what you're thinking your site needs to do. What are your objectives? Who is your target market? What types of navigation do you need? You're not going to go to them asking them to do that. It is your business, so you want to come up and say, these are the things that I need to do with my website. I need to sell products. I have these basic items, and um, that's what we need to do with this website. A lot of times I know businesses have come to me because I do websites for people, and they have no idea where they want to go. And what that does is it increases the number of hours spent on the project. It increases a lot of back and forth, which increases the price. So for you to keep your price down, I would go to these designers and developers with very specific requirements. What does my site need to do? Who am I going after? What's my navigation going to look like? And they can make it. Web designers can do whatever you want them to. They're kind of the paintbrush, right? You have the vision. They can come up with the graphics and the images, but you need to have that blueprint for them, okay? So that's one thing I would recommend. Number two is I would ask them how they charge you. Do they charge you by hour, or do they quote you for a certain price? And if they quote you for a certain price, I would suggest progress payments. So, maybe 4 progress payments or 3 progress payments. You never pay them up front. My clients never pay me up front for the whole project. They give me progress payments. So they'll say, I'll give you X amount of dollars for the first part, X amount of dollars for the second, and then the third part is the final payment once the site's done. So if you're going to hire a designer, talk to a lot of them, get bids, get references. Make sure that they worked with small businesses or businesses like yours. Now, another good way of creating websites, if you're going to go and do this, is you can use products online that I had on the screen, like Wix.com or WordPress. So one example I was just showing in a recent class I did was Wix.com. So if you've never heard of Wix, it's a really nice product. You'll see here. Actually, I'm logged in, so let me do it in here. I don't think I'm logged in over here. There's some really good products like this. Wix.com is one of them, and Squarespace is one of them. So I'll show you Squarespace as well. Wix.com is a very easy way for anybody to create a website. It's great for services websites. It's great for I don't want to say it's great for e-commerce. I think it's good for e-commerce websites. But I think it's a really nice way to create websites. They have many different templates, meaning they already have sites that are kind of pre-designed for you, and once you put your logo in there and your information, it will look really, really nice. Okay, so if I'm a politician, boy, this one looks good. Like every other politician site, which is fine. Everybody wants to be super unique on their site, but the idea is that the imagery becomes unique, the logo becomes unique, the messaging becomes unique. So anyway, lots of different templates, and the nice thing about Wix is it's free, but you have to pay for the premium upgrade. So what that means is, I'll show you a site that I use. So I have a friend who passed away last year because of cancer, and we are putting a memorial golf tournament on. And I needed to create a site for the golf tournament, and this is in the end what the site looked like, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when we edit it. So we have a very simple logo. We have some very simple pages online, right? So I have my home, about Dave, so they know about Dave and what they're signing up for, how they register and sponsor the event, some photos of Dave, how to contact us. So here you're going to see that we have some information about Dave and how they register online. We have our call to action buttons. You can register online here. We also have printable forms. I have a form online. I'm going to talk to you about how I created this form here in a minute. But the idea here is I have a very simple website. Again, 6 to 8 buttons. We're not going too crazy here. And the cool thing about this is not the fanciest web page. I actually did this pretty quickly. The cool thing is how easy it is to manage. Okay, so Wix, just to give you an idea, when I want to edit this site, I do it all in my browser, which is great. I don't need to be on my computer at home. Anywhere I have access to the internet, I can edit my Wix web page. And what you're going to see here is if I wanted to change some text on the home page, I just click into it, and you're going to see that I can just select text and change it. So I could say hockey tournament, right? I'm not going to save that, but you can see how easy that is to add. If I wanted to navigate to a new page, I would just navigate to a new page, click into that, and edit it. If I wanted to move buttons around, I can move the About Dave button down to, after photos and stuff. I can just drag and drop. So Wix is very easy to use. It is very easy to add text and images and other types of media and buttons and things like that. If I wanted to add a button on a web page, look, I have a button on a web page right now. So Wix is great. The one thing I want to make clear is it's free if you would use a website domain name like davecapicelli.wix.com. So this has davecapicelligolf.com. That means we upgraded our service. So we upgraded it. So when you upgrade, it means you're getting a custom domain name. You might have different types of features here. Okay. So anyway, Wix is a great one. And another one that I would mention is Squarespace. I don't use Squarespace. It's not because I don't like it. It's just because I use Wix. Like I feel like they do generally the same thing. I just chose Wix, right? So these are some good sites if you want to try to create this. And actually, I just met somebody at a conference, VWise. They use Wix to build their e-commerce site. So this is a veteran that I just met, and if you look, they have some girly attire and some dresses, and they're actually using Wix to do their e-commerce. Now, I think that there are better options for e-commerce if you're getting larger, and I think eventually maybe they would graduate out of this product. But you can see they have products in here that are really nice, and that could be added, and they can have a shopping cart and all that fun stuff. All right, so I can add things to a cart, go to my cart, and check out. So really nice. Background's decent, a little bit busy, but you can see here that this was done by Wix as well. Now, if you are looking to sell a product, you actually want to have an e-commerce store. Wix is one option, as I just mentioned. I would argue that there is a product called BigCommerce that is amazing, and you can do all kinds of neat stuff with it. So I will show you that BigCommerce has different pricing plans. Now, this is for a business that has multiple products. Okay, so you're going to be spending $30 a month or $79 a month for a certain set of features. But the nice thing about BigCommerce is that they work with many different types of stores, and I would argue that you don't need to be a web designer or developer to do this. I'm going to show you some examples. This is Chocolate Pizza Company. They are a local business. I actually did their website about 3 or 4 years ago. I put their point of sale system in, and the site did look a little different. I'm not doing the graphics anymore, but that's a good thing. They are actually adding the graphics on their own. They are adding the products on their own, and what they're doing is they're managing this on their own without putting me on a retainer fee. Okay, BigCommerce allows you to have customers that have their own accounts. They can check their order status. They can have wish lists, gift certificates. They can sign in and create accounts. If I go in and look for corporate gifts, you can see that they have the 3-pound dessert platter. I think it's a little low-fat version. You can see here that I can go in and look at the different products. I can add it to the cart. There are different options available. I can see new products over here. I can certainly add this to my wish list. I can sign up for a newsletter. So BigCommerce is really easy to use, and if I'm lucky, I will be able to log in and show you the inside. Okay, cool. So this is kind of the engine behind a front-end website. And again, this is for Chocolate Pizza. This is another site that is using BigCommerce, really nice and clean, very simple navigation, nice clean logo. Big, who are their partners? You can buy the fish here, stuff like that. So, and just another one. This is a lacrosse site. They also have products. They're using BigCommerce. They have all kinds of T-shirts and things like that. So this is a BigCommerce site as well with a different template. Now, just to show you, you can see all your orders that come in here. You can see and view products. Adding a product is just like uploading an image and adding some text, things like that. Who are my customers? Those customers can be put into an HTML email marketing list. For example, I can go in and sell on eBay, sell on Facebook, and there's also analytics about, certain, like the most popular customers, what's an average revenue per customer, stuff like that. You can see that this Karen has made 13 orders. So that's probably somebody you incentivize to make more. So give them a discount, send them a card, etc. Right? So if I change this to like all time, let's see who made the most orders. This will be very interesting. So you can get a lot of good information on this. Let's see if I can change it to the most orders. So there's a good one. James Green, 258 orders. Somehow you incentivize that person, right? So anyway, a lot of good information in here. And just keep in mind that you don't have to design your web page. They have all kinds of templates that you can choose. Okay? That's that's BigCommerce. Any questions on any of that stuff?
No questions right now, Scott.
Okay, so what I'm going to move on is off the website side of things, and I'm going to start talking about driving traffic to a website. So one of the big things you want to do is once you get a website built up is how do you drive traffic to it? So one of the things I would say, here's a good example, is if I search, let me go to Google and search for the word click. So we're going to start talking about search engine optimization. What search engine optimization is the art and science of preparing your website for Google search engine or searches. So I just searched for the search term click here, and the first result is Adobe. So why would Adobe be the first result? Well, it's a pretty easy answer. If you look, and if you've probably seen this online, there's a lot of times where it says click here to download the Adobe PDF reader. So one of the first lessons of SEO, search engine optimization, is that the more sites that link to you, the more popular you are. So there are a lot of sites in the world, and in the cyberspace world, that actually have those terms. Click here to download the Adobe PDF reader, and they actually link to this page right here. So that's why that comes up first, because there are many sites linking to that page with those key terms. Now, if I wanted to sell calculators, or something like that, this is a site I used to do. There is a site called Sell Your Calculators. Okay. Now the lesson here is that the key terms that I just searched, called Sell Calculators, which I searched, is in the domain name. This is another important thing for search engines. Okay. So having your key terms in, and we're going to talk about key terms, in your domain name is important. And the key thing that we're talking about here is really understanding what are the keywords that people search to find your product or service. If you look at Ensemble video, a perfect example, people don't always search for Ensemble. If they did, they know how to get to my website. They'd probably put in ensemblevideo.com. What people search for when they search for Ensemble video, a lot of times, is video content management. That's a big key term in our space, okay? And you're going to see we show up first here. Sometimes we show up third. The key is that we're showing up over big companies that have millions and millions of dollars more than us. I love this. This is one of my favorite parts of my job because we've worked very hard on that key term, video content management. We're above Bright Cove, Polycom, a billion-dollar business, Panopto, big company. These guys get $45 million in venture capital every 3 years. They're Cisco. We show up at a very competitive key term. And we're number 1 to 3 usually all the time. So that key term, what we do is we thread that key term into a lot of our content. So one thing I'm going to show you is we have video content management right on this page, right? We'll start to see through many of our web pages, if I go to video platform, you're going to see the word video management here, video management platform. So those key terms are threaded throughout our site. Video content management. Additionally, another key term we go after is online video platform. I would love to tell you that we were number 1 on online video platform, but we are not. That is actually a more competitive key term. So here you're going to see that some of our competitors are beating us. Bright Cove, Kaltura, we're number 3. And sometimes we're actually like 6, 7, or 8, and we're down here at the bottom. But the idea here is that you need to find the key terms that people use to search for your product or service. It's not always going to be your business name. Okay? So how do you do that? One easy way to do this is go into Google AdWords Keyword Analyzer. So or Keyword Planner, they call it now. They change the name all the time. But if you go to Google AdWords Keyword Planner, just search in Google for Keyword Planner. You can search for keywords, and let's say private investigator. I'm going to use your term, Rudy, and get some ideas. And down here, there's 2 tabs: Ad Group Ideas or Keyword Ideas. I want to use the Keyword Ideas tab. Let's refresh the data here. Let's try that again.
Rudy says, "Ding ding, I'm listening."
Okay, let me see if. Okay, well, private investigator. Let's try something else here. What was his other business? I forgot already. It was oh, behavioral health, right?
Behavioral health. Yep.
Good ideas. Oh, come on, Google. All right, well, let me see if I can do sports tickets. This usually works. I think there's something wrong with Google here. I'll blame it on Google, but oh, there we go. We got some. Okay, so I'm going to go back to your key terms in a minute because it just worked. So I also have a client, CompleteTickets.com. Here's their new website we're working on, and I just did a big keyword analysis for them, and I started to figure out he owns certain tickets, a bunch of tickets. He's a ticket broker, and what he does is he goes in and we found a bunch of key terms. So people search for sports tickets. We want to know how many times and what are the average monthly searches for a certain key term. So when I type in sports tickets, it actually gives me some other key terms like concert tickets. Okay, that's a good one to thread into my content. Tickets Now, Ticket Exchange. These are actually companies. Cheap concert tickets, 18,000 times a month. That's pretty good. You can even go down to some lower competitive terms. Tickets for less, upcoming concerts. So the key here is you start to find key terms that people use. So if I type in video platform and get ideas, probably I'll see streaming, live stream, they're streaming, what is cloud computing, content management system. So you start to take in these other terms that the humans out there are searching, okay? And then you thread those into your website. And the more people, the more times you have that in your page, usually it will help you because Google will read your site. They don't look at the colors that we were talking about. They don't look at the buttons. They read the words on your site. And the more you mention certain key terms, they will sometimes, increase your ranking in a search engine. And then lastly, let me try private investigator one more time because I'm a glutton for. It does work. There we go. So you can see detective, crime scene investigator, how to become a detective, how to become private detective, all these different words that people use to search. You're going to want to thread that into your website. Okay? And then the last thing I would mention, once you figure out those key terms, put them in your website, and then you need other web pages to link to you. So I always use this example, and it's a good one. This is legitimate here, and this works, is getting articles written about your company or your business is very difficult for free, but you can a lot of times pay for sponsored content. So we pay streamingmedia.com. This is a big outlet in our industry for sponsored articles. And I know Ensemble is on here somewhere. It's probably on like page 2 now because we did this last spring. See if I can find it. There we go. So we have a case study here that we put up online. We wrote it a year before that, but what we've done is we've put our key terms in this article and use them. So media management, video content management, online video platform management, and where are they linking to? They're linking to Ensemble Video. Okay, so you take your key terms and you get other people to link to your website. That also helps search engine optimization. So that's a big piece of SEO, and the key there is that Google sees that as a vote for your site. So if another web page like this links to you, it's a vote for your site, so Google also will increase your rankings. Okay? So we have about 2 minutes left here. I can keep going, but I think we're probably only on from 2 to 3. Is that true, James?
That's true, Scott.
Okay. So are there any last-minute questions? I didn't get through all the stuff I wanted to get through, but are there any last-minute questions here?
There's nothing yet. Just waiting to see if Rudy has anything in closing. He said it helped him out a lot.
Okay, good. All right, well, if nobody else has any questions, I appreciate your time, and I'm sure we will cross paths at some point in the future.
All right, Scott, thank you very much for your time today. If anybody has any questions to follow up with Scott, feel free to post on the event page or on our YouTube channel, or you can email us at ebbtap@syr.edu, and we can relay that to Scott as well. But thanks again, Scott, and everybody look forward to seeing you again at next month's IVMF webinar series.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.